Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Liverpool See You Next Tuesday podcast. Today we'll be reviewing the nail-biting Champions League win against Salzburg and the even more nail-biting Premiership win against Leicester. How you doing, Buttercup?
Oh, I'm good. Well, who wouldn't be as a Liverpool fan at the moment?
We're on cloud 12 at the moment. Hey, hang on. I promised our only listener a sing-song, so
Oh,
I'll
God.
have to... Right, you ready? Tell me when you're
No,
ready.
I'm not ready, ever.
All right, I'll count myself in then. 3, 2, 1. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high
So when are you starting
and
to sing?
don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Fuck it, hell, that done my head in, done my throat in. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, through though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk. Simon Cowell could be knocking on my door
I
anytime
used to
soon, is
love
he?
that
Let's face
song,
it.
but it's starting to lose its, luster right now.
In Leicester,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Oh,
dedicated to Berg, and I guarantee you, after he hears that, he
he'll
won't be
never ask
asking for
again.
any other.
No, that's
Never
it. That's
again.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we never do things easy, do we, Buttercup?
No. But, one thing before we start, I was just thinking, I don't know why people keep going on about Salzburg being connected with Red Bull. I mean, okay, their logos are Red Bull, and their shirt sponsor is Red Bull, and obviously their mascots are Red Bull, and their merchandise is all Red Bull branded. But other than that, they're clearly unconnected, and I can see no reason why they and RB Leipzig can't compete in the same competition. I really don't understand why people are moaning about that.
And they don't swap players and managers between the franchises, do
Exactly. I
they?
mean, they're completely unconnected, obviously, and UEFA tells me that, so it must be true. It's
All right, well, let's
absolutely.
just
Well, I
start
mean,
with it.
name a similarity. I can't think of one other than
It's
those
uncanny, man.
75 we've just listed.
It's just coincidence, mate.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start with the Red Bull Salzburg game then, shall we? Cruising for 35 minutes, playing some sexy stuff, and then we just hit cruise control and they just caught up with us.
Yeah, it was still one of this. I mean, the first 30 minutes, it was so easy. Just hard to believe that it ended up like that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they literally put the cruise control button on and just started cruising. It was just like insane. I mean, this is a Champions
So
League game. You just
sloppy
don't
as
put.
well.
Absolutely. I mean, oh come on. We did. I thought the Japanese fella was sensational on the night, Minamino. And but we just let them back in the game for no reason. I mean, they should have been a slaughtering. We should have hammered them. We should
Yeah,
have
it's hard
got
to
a
tell
goal
if he's actually brilliant or whether it was just because we were just so lackluster. We were awful after that first half hour. It was embarrassing.
I mean, the first goal. Well, let's start with the goals. The Mane goal was an absolute beaut. I mean, the guy's on fire.
Yeah, isn't he
And
just?
Bob, yeah, with the exchange with Bobby, and then Robbo got the second with a beautifully worked goal. I mean, constructed, and
That was nice
I
to see
love
him
the fact
score
that
as well.
yeah, and I love the fact Trent was the one that supplied him. That was an in-joke
Yeah.
between the two.
And where he was as
And
well
then,
when he put it in the back of the net. I mean, if you go back and look
I
at it,
mean,
he's crossing into the 6-yard box, and it's the left back that's getting it on the end of it.
yeah, and he's 3 yards away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When he puts it in the back of the net. I mean, again, as I said, we were 3 up with 35 minutes gone, and then it was I don't know, it was the Minamino and the Quan He Chang show. I think I said that correctly.
But he was
Yeah,
quick,
I mean,
Chang, wasn't it? That Juan G,
yeah, he
wasn't it?
put I thought it was Quaniche. I apologies for the mispronunciation.
Yeah,
I
I
probably
can't
is
remember now.
mispronounced. Yeah, but he put Virgil on his arse. Nobody's done that in a long time.
And he was bloody cool. He looked it anyway in the pics. Hard to tell, obviously, because everybody on the Liverpool team seemed to be going and running in treacle for after half an hour had gone.
Slow mo. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But hey, we got the win. That's what matters. And I mean,
show.
Salah got the winner.
Do you not think that showed something about them, something special there, that they could pull that out of the fire, even when it looked like it was all gone? And the only result that was going to happen after they pulled it back to 3-3, really, the only thing that was going to happen was we were going to lose there. We'd fallen apart, and it was there for them to take. And then all of a sudden, the players just stepped up and said, "You know what? No, we're not going to accept this," and just turned it around and took it to them.
I've got to be honest. When it's 3-3, highlighting what you've just said, I was in a Liverpool WhatsApp group, and I just said, "Look, well, I thought differently. I just thought that the fact that they equalised was waking up the tiger." And I said to the WhatsApp group, I said, "We're going to win it. There's no chance that we're going to lose this, because it was a slaughtering for first half an hour. We should have gone and won 7-8.
But you not think it was the changes rather than the substitutions Klopp made that changed it, pulled it back?
Yeah, I mean, he's done. That's one thing he hasn't done that well recently is the substitutions. You know, we're always picking on him for his subs, but yeah, he made some decisions. He made some positive decisions, but I still think it's a learning curve for him, because we had this hubris, maybe, or this arrogance now, and this swag, and it's good for us to have these games once in a while, because it just it's a learning curve and it's growth, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when you pull it out the fire like that, it can give extra belief as well.
Yeah, and it bodes well for the Premiership and the other competitions, because these guys are, and I hate to use the terminology that Rogers coined, but the group they grow together, and emotionally, physically, psychologically, which is imperative for success.
I can't believe you just quoted Rogers there.
Oh no, there's more of that later, mate. Yeah, but I was super impressed with that. I was super impressed with that Minamino, and I know you think that the jury's out on him because he did it against I don't know, an apathetic team at
and
that
it's
stage
the only
of the
time I've
game
seen
we
him
were.
play as well, to be fair. So, like, you know, it's not like I can say, no, this is how he always plays. He might be terrible every week, for all I know. And this was a out of the ordinary performance. I just don't know. So, yeah, I can't.
Oh, mate,
The jury has to be out on him.
Yeah, I've never seen him play either, to be honest. I know he played for Osaka and he plays for the Japanese national team. But I mean, if he's an international player, surely that he would have been picked up by now. I mean, in a maybe a better team than Salzburg. But I was super impressed with them.
They've done good with their scouting though over the years. I mean, Mane, when nobody else got him, you know what I mean? Keita.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they give players in non-traditional footballing countries a chance and an opportunity. They put them on a decent contract. All right, it's not going to make them. It's not a crazily financially rewarding contract, but they give them a chance.
Sorry, no, because they're not connected with Red Bull. Sorry, what was I thinking?
No, but they're not on Premiership wages or Spanish League wages when they're there.
No, but they do get decent, deals with sponsorship deals through RB, shall we say? Even though they're not connected with them in any way whatsoever, they do. You know, they do have that to help bring in decent players, like.
Absolutely, and I liked. I got to be honest, and I know I wanted to ask your opinion on Jesse March. I think he's got something about him. He's.
Go on, no, carry on.
No, and also I wanted to ask you about the furore about his halftime team tour being advertised, published on social media, and Klopp was asked about it, and he said, if Liverpool ever did that to me, I'd walk straight away, which I thought was.
But with the Marsh thing, Marsh took over a team playing a certain way. Already the players in play. He doesn't pick the players. He doesn't. All he does is he coaches them to play the style they were already playing. So it's really difficult to judge him. Really difficult. All of them seem to have done this, pretty much the same job there. So I don't know. I honestly don't know how to judge him because he's not built anything for himself. He's not had to turn anything around yet or anything like that. Until we see what he can do when the team's struggling, you really can't judge, because that's the only time you can judge a manager is when they take over it, or when their team hits a bad patch, and you see how they react and how they cope with it, and that's the measure. I mean, he's not had that, so I don't know.
Yeah, like we're going to see how what Poch and Guardiola are made of, but that's a conversation for another time.
Or the other podcast.
Or the other podcast, March was pretty unsuccessful in New York, wasn't he? Wasn't he New York Bull? He managed.
You're not going to say New York Red Bull, are you? No way.
I was trying not to.
Could they? How could that have happened? I mean, because they're completely unconnected. All these Red Bull teams. I mean,
but they've got a fascinating structure. They really have. I was reading about it, and they have this really fascinating structure between the franchises, and they obviously,
which are obviously all completely separate and unconnected. They're
all detached. Yeah. And they supply players and coaches, etc. And they have this. Their biggest strength, obviously, is their advertising, and they're absolutely. They took a team in Germany and Austria. They'll go to a really obscure part of the country and just build a team and build a fan base. And they're very vilified in Germany and Germany, I think.
Yeah, Germany. Nobody likes them because they're not a real team. It's a bit like MK Dons going and winning everything. Who's going to like that? No one.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty interesting model, to be honest with you. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but I'm interested in the model for sure. And it gets bums on seats, which is a good thing, I suppose.
They do struggle to get bums on seats because most away fans boycott the games. I
don't know. They bought a decent amount of fans to Anfield last week.
Yeah, I was talking about RBL because you were saying they were vilified.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know about RBS because, they didn't do the same. It's not quite the same because RBL. It's because they're breaking the ownership model that's in place. Where fans have to own 51% in Germany.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
And they're not. They're in breach of that. And that's the problem there. In Austria, it's a totally different thing, so I don't think they have anything like the same problem.
Gotcha. That fat big fellow, the young kid, scored again. Came off the bench and scored. Alga Haaland's son.
Yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't fit to start because he was sick a day or two before the game, so he wasn't well enough to start. Bloody, I'm glad he didn't.
No, I'd have liked to have seen him.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but
we certainly wouldn't have been able to sit back after 30 minutes and say the game is done. So
yeah, he's
and not being funny, but he didn't really show much in the time he was on the pitch either. I know he scored, but he scored from two. It's not like he took a great day. He did something brilliant to score. He just finished a tap in, So.
Yeah, but he had about 123-degree temperature the night before.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm
saying
is, I would have liked to have seen if he's as good as we've been led to believe, but we didn't get to see because he never really got into the game.
I mean, the kid's 19. He's got years of development ahead, and I like to see him in the reverse game. It'll be interesting. I hope he doesn't have a good game because he's clearly got something about him. Lucky Napoli drew against Genk, which was weird, the weirdest result ever.
I'm not sure it's the weirdest result. I think there's quite a few teams that would argue that one this week.
But Genk are the true. Genk are the whipping boys of the group, and that was a great result for us.
Yeah, well, and RBS. Sorry, S. Just
Absolutely, yeah.
Salzburg FC.
Yeah,
Sorry,
RB,
I don't know why I keep saying RB. I don't know why I keep saying it. Seriously, just can't get it out of my head now.
Do you actually like Red Bull?
No, it's vile stuff. It's those energy drinks are what gave me the liver infection.
Really?
Yeah.
What energy drinks were you drinking?
Whatever, any of them. It's the fact that they too much sugar in them and that.
But why was you drinking them? Because to get energy or the sugar fix?
No, at the time we were doing. It was during the Liverpool takeover, and it was going into. Right. It was going from one country in the UK it was going on all day, in courts and all that, and then it was carrying on to America all night long. And then it was going back to the UK during the day. So I was surviving on naps for like about 3 weeks, actually. And so I was just using that to keep me, to keep me going. That was when I got it.
Oh, wow.
So I'd avoid them at all costs if I was you. They're very dangerous. They rot your stomach lining and everything.
Didn't know that, mate.
Yeah.
I don't like them anyway.
Oh,
so Salah got the winner on. Salah got the winner at 68 minutes.
And there's still people saying we could do without him and we should replace him and stuff. I don't get that.
I'm going to come on to a few stats about Salah when we do the review of the Leicester game. It'll put stuff into context, I think. So,
well, you only had to look at him there. I mean, they would every time they double mark him. And it was the same in the Leicester game. That's why Sionchu was constantly on him, you know what I mean? Trying to close him down the minute he got the ball.
Let's talk about the Leicester game in a minute, buddy.
Yeah, sorry.
What did you think of? Did you see that Jesse Marsh's half-time team talk?
I didn't, to be honest. It's not something I'd have taken any notice of, to be honest.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's a video of him basically talking in Austrian German, and I mean he's an American coach, and he's talking in Austrian. It's amazing. I mean, I really admire people that can go into different countries and pick up the language, and I think that's very commendable. But he's basically saying you have to get in them, like put the boot in, put an elbow into. He actually said, put an elbow into Virgil. What are you doing? You're paying him too much respect. You got to get stuck into Virgil and elbow him. And I don't understand why they. I mean, if you get a second, have a look.
Surely that's encouraging foul play, and it should be what's not misconduct, contempt. Oh no, was it bringing the game into disrepute? Is what I was thinking.
He literally said you've got to get stuck into him, and you could see him use the elbow. He said elbow him.
So if he said that, that's surely bringing the game into disrepute because he's suggesting to cheat. I guess getting stuck in is one thing, but using your elbows, that's not within the laws of the game. So
get stuck in, and he makes the elbow kind of sign thing. So with his own elbow, he physically does it. It's insane. I just don't understand why they would release something like that. I just think it's really, really weird and off. And yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about the game, the Salzburg game?
That game wasn't really. I mean, considering it finished 4-3, you'd think there'd be tons of things to talk about. But to be honest, the only thing to talk about was the players just fell off so badly, and then managed to scrape it out when it mattered. I mean, there wasn't really that much in the game to talk about, was there? There was not really anything.
No.
It
was ironic because it was for a 4-3. It wasn't that exciting. in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it would have been for some fans, for some Salzburg fans, but I was already under the impression we're going to win this. So it wasn't. They got back to 3-3. I obviously I knew they were going to win this.
I'm glad you were confident. You know, I'm never confident. I've seen this throwaway leads. What we've done this so many times, thrown away leads like that, and in the past, and not made the most of it. This time we've come back and clinched it when it mattered.
Yeah, but have we really though? But last year or two we haven't really let massive lead slip. All right,
no, I meant prior
to
on
win.
Prior to Klopp, I'm talking about in the
that.
past.
Oh my God!
Saying the amount of times I've seen
us
us throw things away. It's so nice to see us, even when even when someone's managed to drag back a 3-0, we've still just gone out there and said, okay, we'll just go and score another one then.
He's built up an aura. I mean, I think the aura is stronger this season than it was last season.
Oh, definitely.
And that's
Champions League
this is
win.
Without. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That you think
made
that
a huge
cemented
difference.
the aura?
What's the players?
How?
They believe in themselves now. They've won something, and then they needed that. Now they want more. I wonder what they did with the medals afterwards. I wonder if because like in the old days when it was Paisley and Shankly, like when we won anything, like the medals were just literally it was just because they given to them they were given to him in a box, and Shankly and Paisley, whichever was in charge at the time, would just literally take the box into the dressing room, throw it down on the floor, and say, "Those who think they deserve one, help yourself." And that was it.
I wonder how they do that now. It'd be more politically correct now, I suppose, wouldn't it?
Well, Champions League, they'd receive them on the game, wouldn't they? So everyone gets one. Even the kid who was just there to carry the water bottles and stuff, and the mascot got one, I think.
I thought that was really touching. When it was a beautiful thing when Hendo, when the kid in the wheelchair. Do you remember?
Yeah, because you kept on about it quite a lot, so it's hard to forget, mate.
We call the human touch, mate.
I wouldn't know. I haven't got any of that.
Well, you've never touched another female.
Exactly, another human. Full stop, really.
Well, dolls—that's a different thing, Mr. Burke.
Oh God, don't! I hate dolls, especially those porcelain things. Oh, they're scary. Them, like clowns. Ugh.
Oh, you don't like clowns?
No, my uncle collects them, and they're horrible things. Like, oh.
So you won't be watching the Joker?
Don't know. Might do. Depends. If it comes on TV, I'll watch it, but I'm not really. No, but it doesn't sound like my type of thing. It's apparently really psychological. I'm just like, yeah, no, give me mindless violence any day.
What do you mean it's psychological?
That's just what I've been told. It's more about him going through, his changes. Anyway, we were meant to be staying on topic on this one.
Yeah. Stop talking. Right. Let's do the.
We're crap at this.
Let's do the Liverpool. Let's do the Liverpool Leicester. Review. All right, mate. We won 2-1, but it should have made it a lot more easier. I was really disappointed the Leicester came to play. They came to decapitate rather than play football. And if they'd have come to play football, I think they would have got a better chance of getting something out of the game.
I don't think they would have. I think they'd have got torn apart. They're not good enough. It's that simple. Especially under Rodgers, who doesn't really know how to play. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the edge that Klopp has tactically.
Yeah, but you say that, but so you think it's a false position that they have in the Premiership?
Because the rest of the league's crap this season. Everybody's fallen apart. It's handed them by default. You only have to look at Arsenal. I mean, for God's sake, Arsenal are bloody terrible. They're third.
Yeah.
How the hell are Arsenal third? They're the worst third-place team I've ever seen. I mean, literally. If you put them in, at the like a kids' pub, or a pub league or anything, they'd still be terrible. They're just an awful side, and yet they're third. There's
They're a
something
shambles
seriously wrong with
defensively,
this
aren't they?
Premier League this season. I don't know what's going on.
I'll take it, mate, all day long if we win it.
Yeah, but it'll change anyway, because teams like Wolves and that hopefully will start getting their act together and they'll start coming back up, and it should start, sorting itself out a bit better. I'm surprised to see Norwich at the bottom after they played so well against. But anyway, forget that, because we're talking about Leicester, Liverpool. Sorry, got distracted.
So they really did come to cause GBH. I mean, they had some real shithouse rough skullduggery going on, Leicester. I mean, is that Rodgers doesn't play like that, to go out and maim people, and.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure they were that bad. They were just pulling and pushing and tripping.
That's the same difference.
Yeah, but it's not really, because shithouse tactics, like you were describing, they'd be like jumping into like a Hamza Chowdhury type challenge on every challenge.
I mean, Sionchu, I thought he was quite a cultured player, but he was using skullduggery as well.
He never once kept his arms away from Salah. I'm sure he just wanted to give him a hug like Klopp. I'm sure that was what he was doing, because he never once, not once, did he not have hold of Salah's shirt. Not once in that game. And I can't understand how the referee didn't give him.
Now, is that a case of he just hasn't got Salah's just too good for him?
Yeah, Salah was destroying him every time, and that's why he was pulling him. And Salah turned him a couple of times, and he's got hold of him, so he can't get away. That's the reason why Salah was struggling, not because he was definitely had the beating of Sionchu, and Sionchu was panicking and just grabbing. I don't understand that. This is my problem with VAR. Is why don't they pick up on things like that if they want more goals to be scored? Because half our chances will be, more than half the chances we possibly could have had were coming to nothing because they've got hold of somebody's shirt. I mean, why not pick up on things like that? If you start giving retrospect, you don't have to boot them at the time. If you missed it, as soon as the game comes to a stop, the VAR official could just say to him, this and this look like a foul. This is a pull, this is a pull, this pull. Have a quick look. He can run across, have a quick look, and then go over and book him, and I guarantee it'll stop. Nobody will be doing it. Because we've seen loads of it recently, and it's getting worse, if anything, even though VAR's in place, when we were told it was supposed to get rid of it.
Yeah, but VAR is in place of... they are adjudicating on goals and red card offences.
But they're not actually doing that, are they? Because what they're doing is they're saying, what's the referee said? Yeah, that's what we saw as well. That's it. That's all it's done. It's ridiculous. Doesn't matter how blatant it is. I mean, how many penalties have we lost out on because the referee hasn't seen it and the guy in the VAR studio hasn't even bothered to look? I mean, that one, he took less than a second to decide it wasn't a penalty. He couldn't have even looked at any angles of it to see it was, and it was a definite one.
Right, we'll get to that in a minute, mate.
No, I'm not talking about the one. I'm not talking about the one on Salah this time, the one that was given. I'm talking about in the past. How many have we missed out on? And now we finally got one, and everyone's up in arms saying how lucky we are. It's hang on a sec. It was a foul. The only problem is Manny made a meal of it, but it was a foul. So, and we're told all last season, we had all these pundits coming out and saying that's why Liverpool will never win anything because they don't go down when the chance is there. The minute anybody does, we're told they're cheating bastards. I mean, make up your mind. Shearer just should go and take his face for a shite or something because, he just is the biggest moron on here. He really is. He's just a gobshite. He was the one that tells everyone, he's the one that's constantly on about if a forward gets touched in the box, he should go down. Constantly, he says, because that's the only way they'll get a foul. Then he called Mané a cheat for going down, even though he'd been fouled in the box. It's get life.
It's the kind of double standards and hypocrisy is
It's racism because he's not English. If Mane had been English, I guarantee he'd have said it was clever play. Shearer's
You think
a bigot.
so, right?
Yeah, Shearer's a bigot. It's as simple as that. They all are. The media is full of it. It's always the same. If you see the same incident involves Harry Kane, and it's great play. We've seen it.
Right.
It's happened many times.
Yeah.
So, what's the difference? Well, Harry Kane's white and English. Mane's not.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about the penalty. It was a definite pen, in my opinion. I mean, I saw it and I thought it was an exaggeration the way he went down.
Yeah, definitely went down he threw himself down to make sure the ref seen it. Was it a foul? Well, yes, it was a foul all day long. So.
Well, he had to throw himself down because the chance had gone.
Well, the ref wouldn't have given it.
Yeah, the ref wouldn't have given it. And the other thing is, there was no. I'm sure if he had an option to pass or shoot, he would have done, but he didn't. He brought him down, and he couldn't pass because there was a player blocking. Yeah, I think it was who was it? It was So it was a definite. He got fouled in the box. It was a penalty. And yes, it was an exaggeration, but I mean, it was a foul. So it was a definite pen.
Well, the thing is, if the referee turns around and say, "Nah, you made a meal of that, so I'm not going to give it," you'd say, "Okay, that's fine. I can understand your point of view." But if the referee says that's a penalty, you can't turn around and argue because it was a foul. So either way, whichever way the referee decides, that's one of those instances where you just say, okay, that's fair enough.
Okay.
That's how I look on it.
Would that have been a travesty had it not been given for you?
No, that's what I'm saying is if the referee turns around and said, no, you made a meal of that, I'm not going to give it because of that, I just said, okay, fair enough, I can understand your point of view. Right. When he says he's given it because it's a foul, and it is a foul, then you say, yeah, that's fair enough. I can understand your point of view, basically. If it was the other way round,
accept the decision either way.
It's one of those.
Accept the decision either way.
Yeah, you got to, because it's one of those where it's subjective whether the referee thinks the making a meal of it overrides the fact that it was a foul. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Mane, he got again. Who did we play just before? Was it Sheffield United? He got fouled and it wasn't given.
Yeah, so that's what I was on about, where he didn't even look at it, wasn't it? Where, it was less than a second. Remember? Yeah. And there was one in the first game of the season as well, wasn't there? Who was it? Was it Matip? Nearly got
Newcastle. Matip, yeah.
He had him by the throat, virtually, didn't he? And right in front of the referee as well.
Yeah, that was assault and battery and ABH all rolled into one. That should have been a definite pen. But yeah, so Leicester, they're the team that presses most in the Premiership, and
are they?
So Klopp, they're top of the pressing, and Southampton are second. Believe it or not,
I've watched both, and I didn't think either of them particularly pressed well. Yeah, or did a lot.
They may not press well, but yeah. And,
I don't understand how they work out these stats, though, because I mean, how can you tell whether some? Okay.
Well, you move 4 yards, you're pressing probably.
Well, but that's not necessarily a press, is it? It might just be you've closed down and everybody else has stood watching. Because every time I've watched them, that's what's happened with Southampton and Leicester. Is one player has closed down and the rest have stood watching. That's not a press.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is again. How do they form these stats exactly? So we played a 4-3-2-1 to counteract this, I suppose.
Because Mane was on the right. Salah started for the start anyway. Salah in the middle and Firmino on the left.
Bobby was on the left. Yeah,
it was bizarre.
It was, but he outfoxed him, didn't he? Because they thought he was going to come in.
I don't know, because when the goal came, so they'd swap back to their normal places, and it came from Firmino dropping off, and Mane running into the space he'd left, which is one of those things that everybody who keeps saying, because like certain people keep saying he's not playing well, Bobby, but they're not watching what he does off the ball. I mean, there's a famous quote by Johan Cruyff: "Players only have the ball an average of 3 minutes in a 90-minute game.
Right.
It's not what they
Right.
do when they have the ball that makes them great. It's what they do in the other 87 minutes when they don't have the ball that makes them great. And that is what people who think that Firmino's still not playing well, that's what they miss.
Right.
He is absolutely world class in those 87 minutes, as well as what he does on the ball. He's one of the best, if not the best, in the world at what he does when he doesn't have the ball.
He's super, super intelligent.
Yeah, and he created the space for Mane to run into. And he does it every single game, multiple times.
It was a peach of a ball from Millie, though, who was sensational.
Beautiful ball.
Oh, my God, it just died. I mean, he took out two players. It was a beautiful... Was it Sionchu he beat?
No, it went round Evans.
Evans, that's it, Evans. Yeah, round Evans. That was millimetre perfect. Millimetre perfect, that ball. It was delicious. I mean, that was 1-0. And he took it with aplomb as well. He really did take it with some... It wasn't easy to slot that away because he had he had the keeper and the defender after him.
Mane's a bit special, though, isn't he?
He's one of them players that when he has an off day, you can forgive him because he gives you so much. I mean, so much for the rest of the other games.
Can you remember when he last had an off day?
Yeah, he had one against Sheffield United, didn't he? Oh no, not Sheffield United. He had one.
I don't think he's
Salzburg.
had one this season. No, he didn't. I thought he was on. I mean, again, he's being marked. I mean, yeah, he fell off when everybody fell off, but it wasn't really an off game. He was, he was excellent for the first 30, like everyone else.
So they all were, yeah.
Yeah, sadly. Yeah, but overall, he's been fantastic this season.
I remember I was saying to you the other podcast how, I mean, is he the world's best at the moment?
A left winger? I can't think of a better one. Not right now. I mean, Hazard's been out injured most of the season. He's only just starting to get into it for Real Madrid. And he's the one that you'd normally put as the opposition as the best left winger. So you'd have to say Mane, really, wouldn't you, in that position?
I'd say, is there anybody better than him in the world at the moment?
It depends. Where's Neymar been playing?
Where or when? Would you say?
Where? Which positions he been playing this season?
I have no idea. I think he's been injured. He's just come back about 2 or 3 games ago.
Yeah, he's played about 4 or 5, and he's been playing really well. Because even though because the PSG fans have been booing him, and it's gradually starting to fade now because he's playing well. He's finally turned up and figured out that he's got to try.
Oh, there's a transfer window coming up in January. One of the two.
It's a bit of, I think it's a bit of everything. You know what I mean? He wants to make sure that the fans get on his side rather than keep hammering him because the PSG fans aren't the nicest. But yeah, he'd be the other potential opposition. I wouldn't have him over Mane in my team anytime. So even if he is playing you wouldn't pick him, would you?
What has Mane done in order to improve so much, and what improvements has he made since he joined us?
He's become more consistent with his play. His touch, everything has become much more consistent. Putting in a lot more work. His work rate's gone up. But I've got to say, in large part, it's down this season why it's so much better than last season. It's because there's more focus on Salah than last season. The focus on Salah's gone up because he's done it for 2 years in a row. So, Mane's playing better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's all about Salah. I'm saying that's helping him is that he's getting freed up a bit more. Because they can't watch all of them. I mean, Firmino's taking players away, whereas before, a lot of the time when he dropped off, he'd be given space. Now the defender's looking and going, I can't give him space. He's going to play a ball in, and we get and either Mane or Salah's going to be onto it. So they're having to come to him. But then there's a space in behind where Mane or Salah can run into. So it's stick or twist, isn't it? You know what I mean for the defence there. Now they've got 3 of them that are all causing problems, and they can't deal with them because they can't cope with all 3 of them.
You just can't. It's a nightmare. I mean, I remember when he signed from Southampton for 34 million pounds, and I said, that's a heck of a lot of money for him. And you said to me he was a world beater on one day, and then he'll go through 3 or 4 games where he doesn't do anything, and then he'll only turn up for the big games.
Yeah,
but
that's
you're
what
right.
he did.
The consistency is it's immeasurable now. I mean, when he has an off game, you're like, what? Where did that come from? Because you expect him to be an 8, 9 out of 10 every game.
He
and
can't
do
get away
something
with
positive.
it under Klopp, which helps. Klopp's not one of those that will suffer fools gladly. You know what I mean? He won't take it. You play. If you don't try, he won't have it. You can play badly, but you've got to put in the effort, and that's the difference. Manny sometimes he was coasting because it was a bit easy for him. Now he's not. It's the same with Virgil, really. If you look at what the difference is, he's trying.
Yeah.
He's on his game rather than just coasting because it's too easy.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you see? I mean, going back to Mane, did you see the shift he put in defensively at the weekend?
And that
God.
tackle, whoa!
The Chilwell.
Yes. Oh.
Chilwell must have thought. I kind of understand. They probably couldn't fathom how this was happening because they prepared for a different game plan. They probably prepared for the normal setup. And they got blindsided.
The other thing was as well in the game, it wasn't just Mane. Do you notice how Robertson closed down Ricardo and didn't let him didn't let them put a cross in from his side either. Both sides were doing really well at that. It's one thing that I used to criticise Robertson for because he used to be a real weakness. He'd stand off with somebody's going to put a cross in, and he'd stand off them. He closed them down in that game and didn't let them didn't let them get a clean cross in. Made a huge difference.
Mate,
I think that's why they weren't creating chances, because that's how they create them usually, is balls coming in from wide areas for Vardy.
What, from Pereira and Albrighton and
Chilwell and Barnes.
Barnes had a quiet game, didn't he?
Well, he was totally closed out of it. I mean, they never got a touch of the ball, did they? They were hemmed in for most of the game. I couldn't believe Rodgers actually said that they were unlucky not to get something from the game. I mean, I was
going to come up with that quote later. Let me quote you that, right? But
sorry, I'll forget I didn't say it. Pretend you didn't hear it, everyone.
No.
Start again. You tell us it.
No. Now you've said it. We might as well say. What did he? This is hilarious. What he said. I mean, I'm not even joking when he said this. What did he say? He said, "Oh my God, where's that quote gone?"
You've got all these.
There it is. Well, we look like we could go on and win the game. We probably deserve the point.
Go on and win the game. What game was he watching? That game was among the most one-sided 2-1s I've ever seen. I've never seen a team get battered and still come away with a goal. It's not like they did.
They were impotent at best. I mean, I just don't let's what chances they had. They had the one chance with
they scored
from the
it,
goal.
Didn't they?
But they should have been smothered or gathered. Right, that was a glaring mistake by Adrian. Number 2, they had the Vardy when Vardy had that 1-on-1 and Adrian.
Saved, yes.
It.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that
saved
one.
It.
But wasn't that offside anyway? Was that the one that was offside?
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Actually, no, that might have been a different one I was thinking of.
I mean, they had all these... and I've got to be honest, this is the one game I was fearing out of all the games we got coming up against Tottenham, Spurs and Man United. This was one game I feared the worst. I think that they could spoil it for us, and they'd get something out of the game. But they were, let's face it, they were rubbish.
Yeah, I did expect Rodgers to have to have them really fired up, but they just looked like they were completely overawed, if anything.
That, and I think that they were bamboozled by the tweak in formation because they didn't expect that, because they thought we'd play to our strengths.
I don't know. I don't think that did. I don't think that did. Personally, I mean, you can't tell, obviously, but I don't think it did, because like the goals came when we went back to the normal. So
yeah, but we should have scored before that.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't think it. I think it might have helped us hold them in a bit better, but I don't think it made any difference to us creating chances, if you see what I mean.
No. But I mean, we had some fairly decent scoreable chances as well. I mean, Salah had a couple. Bobby had one. Bobby had two. That should have been out of sight before
Dominated
they scored.
the ball completely. I mean, they were penned in for most of the game. And it's just shocking that like anybody could see anything other than that was a easy win for Liverpool that they got, that like, you know, they nearly threw away, if anything.
Let me quote you again, Brendan Rodgers. We looked like we could go on and win the game. We probably deserved a point. I mean,
probably deserved the points. He's never lost his comedy edge, has he, eh? He should be on Edinburgh Fringe, definitely. Maybe that's why he was up in Scotland, really. Just to hone, you know, so he could go along to the Edinburgh Comedy Festival each year.
That's exactly it. Fringe Festival. Yeah, he's up for it.
Yeah, that's what he's been doing. He's been getting his comedy act together.
Oh, amazing, mate. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget he gave that press conference in Spanish after that Champions League game. Was it Real Madrid or something? I'm not sure. He's trying to put his... he's obviously trying to get a job in Spain. It was hilarious.
Oh, he's been desperate to get a job in Spain. It's always been his dream. He thinks he's the next Barcelona manager. He's always thought that.
Is it true that he said to people as soon as he got to Celtic that he said that I'm not going to be here for long?
Yeah, well, he said that before he signed.
All right, mate. I want to talk about Salah because there's this notion that he's not playing well, and so yeah, let me just throw a few stats at you. He's scoring a goal or making an assist every 101 minutes this season compared to every 108 last season. And he's also completing more successful passes. He's scored 4 goals and 3 assists in the Premiership. Mane has 5 goals and 1 assist, and Bobby has 3 and 3. I'm not sure that this notion of him playing so badly it has any credence to it, to be honest.
It's just people looking for something to say, I think.
He's creating a chance every 44 minutes. Last season it was every 48 minutes. I don't get it. I mean, obviously he's not... I mean, at this time last season, he scored more goals. He scored 50% more goals at this stage this season than he did last season. So I don't know where all this is coming from.
Yeah, but people were on his back last season, to be fair, at this point.
And he scored...
because he wasn't scored
a golden boot.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's my point. It's just people looking for something to have a go at him for. Again, when it's Harry Kane, he's wonderful. But when it's Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane, you're not allowed. You know, they've got to look for things to point out about how they're doing so badly.
But what they're not taking into consideration is how he's getting double marked, triple marked, not man marked. He's getting double and triple marked. People are being a lot more vicious towards him. They're using real kind of the dark arts against him, and they're not. People aren't. I mean, he can't. He ain't He ain't Superman that he can go through 3 players. You know what I mean? And like slide through three players.
He did manage it a few times, mind. He did manage a few dribbles.
Yeah,
where he got through a few.
Yeah. So. But what I'm saying is they're paying real attention to him, and I mean they're not opposed to skiving him down or being roughhouse with him. So
Yeah, or just
he's
grabbing
got
him
all
and
that to
holding on
contend
to
with.
him sneakily.
Exactly. Sneakily, yeah. I
And if
mean,
the
he's got a
referee's
lot
not,
to contend
the
with.
referee's not giving him, so it's difficult for him. But he's dealing with.
So
I think he's dealing with it all right. He's getting the chances. So I don't see what the problem
yeah,
is. We're top of the league,
and
for
now
God's
he's
sake, and people are still whining. 8
yeah.
points clear. Why are you finding things to pick at? Just enjoy it.
You cannot get better than 8 wins out of 8 wins in the Premiership. I mean, it's a perfect record. What the fuck are you moaning about?
Yeah, but apparently Bobby and Salah are crap. You know, they're not playing well at all. That's why we're not winning anything. Oh, wait, no, we're winning every game, are we? That's why we're not scoring as many as Man City. Well, does it matter? We're winning. They're not. You know, what's the issue? I'd
We've
rather
got
win
double
every
golden.
game 1-0. I'd rather win 7 games 1-0 than 1 game 7-0 and lose the rest. I mean,
And people got to understand. I mean, well, they don't got to, but let's appreciate the fact that we've still got Keita and the Ox to come into this team when and if needed.
yeah, because he missed out, didn't he, Ox, at the weekend? Didn't he have a head bang? He got a bang to the head or something. That's why they left him out, apparently.
Yeah, it was a Klopp
Precaution.
hug that went too far.
It was
Yeah,
a what?
it was a Klopp hug that went too far. But yeah, he got a concussion. I mean, it's we've got double Golden Boot winners in our side. You know what I mean? It's like I don't understand. Yeah, listen, I'm the first person to moan when we don't play well, but people got to appreciate the fact that this even City have lost 2 games so far. I mean, these Premiership teams aren't mugs anymore. You know, in the day of Man United, when there was 1 or 2 decent teams and that's it, when they had their 20-year dominance or whatever. This, like, people like Norwich and Wolves can beat you any given day.
Yeah, they could bat them, but it didn't. You know, it wasn't so important to win every game then, because you could lose a few.
True. Yes.
Now
you lost it. Yeah.
Now, if you lose a couple, you could be out of the race already. You know.
Let's be fair, right? Man City, whatever way they did it, they've set that bar to such a high level. You cannot afford to lose 2 or 3. You can't lose 5 games to win a Premiership.
No, but then you never really could. It was always like 3 or 4 was the most.
But you could get a lot more draws, which you can't get now.
Yeah, that's the difference.
You've
got to win.
We had 7 draws. Yeah, exactly. We had 7 draws last season, and normally in years gone by, that wouldn't have affected you in any way, shape, or form, because you go to a top 4 side and get a point. That's a great result. Now it'll kill you.
Yeah, exactly. You have to win now. It's all about winning.
It really was.
Do you want to do the ratings now?
No, let's talk about that tackle, mate. That Hamza
Oh
Chowdhury
God,
tackle.
yeah, yes, good point. Yes.
Did you hear about? Did you see Klopp's interviews afterwards? He was absolutely seething. I watched about 4 or 5 different interviews, different media outlets. He would not let that go. He was so up in arms about that tackle.
Weren't you upset then? Didn't you think that was a deliberate attempt to hit Salah? Because I thought he just jumped at Salah. There was no need for him to do that. He could have tripped him or pulled him. But he jumped into him. I mean, that's dangerous to me. And
the guy has got previous with them. Did you see that Richie? That's horrific, that tackle.
That isn't even the first either. He's well known for this. He already had a reputation before the Richie tackle.
That needs to be outlawed. That really does, because that's a sneaky way of injuring somebody without getting red carded. Because he's done it in such a way that it doesn't look that bad, but it is awful.
Oh, it does if you know what if you know He's gone
Exactly.
turned onto his side, so he's put shoulder, elbow, and hip in. All three are danger.
So
All
there's
three are weapons that you use in
at the
martial
speed
arts.
that Salah,
And he's
yeah,
going
at
at
the
full
speed
pelt
Salah's going at,
into
yeah,
Salah, who's coming
exactly,
across him.
into Salah at
It's
full
like doing
pelt.
it's like doing a forearm smash. When somebody's running at you, and you stick your arm out and smash. You don't have to be. You don't have to have a lot of force in your forearm or be particularly strong. It's the fact that it's the pace you're moving at that creates the problem. He was going full pelt and jumped in. It doesn't matter that he wasn't studs showing or anything. That was always going to end in somebody getting hurt.
Now, luckily, they reckon Salah's okay, and after a week or so of rest, he's bruised, heavily bruised, etc. And they reckon rest and recuperation, he'll be okay for the United game. I really hope so.
Yeah, you got to remember. Obviously Salah wasn't coming towards him, which would have been if Salah had been running at him at the time, it would have been a similar incident to the Battiston Harold Schumacher thing, because that's exactly what Schumacher did. Is he put his hip in? He turned sideways on, to put his hip in, because it's solid bone. You know what I mean? It's gonna hurt. It's gonna do damage. And that's what he's done. He's put in his side to get, to make sure he's taking him out. He was taking him out. He wasn't pulling him down or stopping him going anywhere. He was taking him out. There's a big difference.
That guy is a marked man now for sure, because the referees will have that.
No, he'll get away with that. Referees don't have a clue. They don't know that it was very few of them actually realise it was a red card. I mean, they don't. They're not.
No, but
because they don't understand the game is the problem. The referees we got, they're not trained to understand the game, because they just, you only have to look at the way the decisions they're making. So they don't.
Right.
They just don't understand that, like, what's a foul that's deliberate and what's a foul that's just somebody accidentally tripping someone most of the time.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but what I'm saying is I think this guy's made a rod. Hamza Chowdhury's made a rod for his own back now, because he won't get the benefit of the doubt in the next. I don't think when he makes the next tackle.
I don't know. I think every single media output it seems to think Klopp's going too far and moaning about nothing. From what I've seen. Did
you read what Simon Jordan said?
I tend to avoid reading him because that guy is complete and utter imbecile.
Twat, absolute twat. Said it's the arrogance of winning the European Cup that Klopp is so vocal about that tackle, because he's arrogant now because he's won something. He said he was humble before,
Does he not realise Klopp had won things before he came to Liverpool?
It's just imbecilic, like you say, absolutely imbecilic, and
he's just another one that just says things to make a name for himself. Spouts such a bullshit. I mean,
it's it was on TalkSport. Let's face it. So that tells you that story. I mean, I must say though, the way did you see the BBC interview Klopp did after the game? He asked the guy.
Don't know.
The interviewer said he asked the interviewer. I like the way what Klopp does. He goes with these contentious decisions. He asks the interviewer what he thinks, and he puts them on the spot, and they don't expect it. I love that. He started doing that recently, and he asked him. He said, "What did you think of the tackle? Do you think it was a red?" And the guy hesitated, and he said to him. He said, "Well, it was. I can understand why, if it was given or why not." And he goes, "Oh, it's because you're English. You accept that. Do you know what I mean? You think that's that's part of your game, kind of thing, But he said it's not really. It's really, really dangerous play.
Yeah, and when you're going at pace and you jump into someone, it's pain. It's somebody's going to get hurt. It's that simple. And he's completely out of control. And he didn't. This is what annoys me. Is it's not so much that he did that; it's that he didn't need to. He could have just tripped him. It's all he needed to do in that situation. No danger to anyone. I mean, obviously, there's a freak accident could happen, and he hurts himself, Salah. Then, but he's done what he's done because he's made sure he's taken out Salah. That's a deliberate attempt to hurt him, not a deliberate attempt to stop him running anywhere. If you see what I mean. What would it have taken to just reach a hand out and grab his shirt? That's
So for you, it's a straight red, right?
Well, it has to be, because otherwise you're going to have every time somebody's breaking through, they're just going to do a Fernandinho and jump into them and get away with it, as Fernandinho does every week.
Right. Yeah. I tell you what,
you that was moaning about him playing this weekend? Fernandinho said that. Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. So you've seen it, haven't you?
We'll talk about Fernandinho.
Yeah, later,
I only noticed it after. How long has he been playing for City? 5 years? 4 years?
Something like that. More than maybe.
This is the first time I've noticed it. Now I know what you're talking about, and everybody else is talking about. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. I tell you what, though, did you see the way the anger and the kind of vitriol in Klopp's eyes? No wonder nobody wants to get on the wrong side of him. He can be pretty frigging scary, man.
He can be an ass when he wants to be.
I'm telling you, the way he was like uncling those journalists, and he was like, it was scary. I felt for him. I really did. And I would hate to be one of his players that gets on the wrong side of him. I really would.
They don't know, do they? Most of them. That's a good thing about it. And we got to mention after Millie scored the penalty. I don't know if you. Sorry, I'm probably moving you along, and you were going to say this anyway. But I was just going to say about the way they were battering Lallana. But he went to get the ball out the back of the net, and rather than go celebrating with the rest, and as he's coming out with the ball, they're all just shoving him around and smacking into him, like really childish and petty, like. And that was what caused...
That was Schmeichel.
Again for Virgil LFC, because you've got to listen, because I'll have to say it again because he didn't quite understand the first 3 times I explained it. That's what caused the fight with Perez and Robbo later, because Robbo came steaming in and had words with him over him smacking into Lallana. And Perez had words back, and then that just carried on, because obviously they're right next to each other for the last few minutes, a few seconds or whatever it was left, and they're in each other's ear. So I see Perez didn't want to take him on though, did he? When he saw Robbo's got right down the tunnel, come on then. Did you see him? He was beckoning him on, coming to us. He was beckoning him on. You could see him. He's pulling it. Doing that way with his hands, saying, "Come on, come on, then we'll go sort. Yeah, come on, we'll go sort it." Like. And Perez wouldn't go down, was waiting. It was sort of holding back, going, oh, shit. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea.
In front of 42,000 fans and his teammates holding him back, he was when
his teammates are holding him back, it's like, hold me back or I'll kill him. And then as soon as his teammates aren't there to hold him back, it's like, oh, shit, now what? No, hold me back. What do you mean? Where have you gone? No, hold me back.
Yeah, that was a bit unsavoury. I felt for Lallana because he didn't deserve that, because I think he ran towards the penalty box. The goal to get after the penalty had been scored to get the ball.
Yeah, he got the ball out the back of the net, and as he ran past Schmeichel, Schmeichel just hammered into him. Schmeichel
took umbrage at that, So
I don't know if he said anything to annoy him, but it didn't look like he did. It looked like Schmeichel just being a prick, which is usual because that's what he's been all his career, isn't it? Let's be honest. Anyone that comes out with things like "I'm better than me dad ever was," when your dad's Peter Schmeichel, you got to be some kind of prick to think that, aren't you?
Yeah, agreed. But because he kicked him up the arse, didn't he? He kicked Lallana on the thigh or something.
Yeah, he took a kick at him, and that's a red card in any other. If the referee sees that's another red card there.
But doesn't that get picked up retrospectively? Because that's a salient point, I think. The fact that, but will that get picked up? Because
no, should do. But VAR should have said, "Hang on, there's a red card incident there." Should have done, but they won't do. That's what it's supposed to be there for, is to pick up if a referee misses a red card incident and things like that. That's one of the things they're supposed to be looking for.
Again, mate, let me quote what Rogers said. We look like we could go on and win the game. We probably deserve the point.
Probably deserved the point. Yeah, no. I think he needs to get the point, doesn't he?
Yeah, boom, boom. I like that. All right, mate. Let's get on to the player ratings, mate. I can't. Listen, I've got to fold that quote out. I've got to cross it out because otherwise, I'm just gonna be laughing at just like inopportune moments. So I'm gonna cross that out. All right, mate. So Klopp, I gave him 8.5. Kudos to the boss and the coaches for blindsiding Leicester a little bit with the change in formation. I did think he could have made some changes earlier, but we won, so no complaints. I just think that's his only failing. But again, you can't complain really if we're 8 out of 8, you know. So
thing is, this thing about the substitutions, and I remember Rafa used to get the same stick, but the reason why they do it is because the stats say that the optimum time for substitutions is later in the game for them to actually take effect.
but at 79 minutes.
No.
Minutes.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why they tend to leave them later than others. That's why Rafa used to make his first one, wasn't it? 67 minutes or something. It was every single game. He'd make his first substitution something like 67 minutes for that reason, because stats showed that that's the time that it has the most effect. I don't know how you can do that. I just don't see how it can, because every game's different, and so you should be judging each one as it comes. But yeah,
I don't mind 67 minutes. I honestly don't. But 80 minutes, you can't. That's really bothersome to me.
But it depends. It depends on how the player. If you're winning and you're walking away with it, and the players say you only take them off when they're tiring, don't you? So.
Yeah, I agree to an extent, but I thought we could have made changes earlier on Saturday because we weren't scoring anymore. We weren't scoring, and we needed to change it up a little bit, I thought. But hey, listen, 8 out of 8, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult to complain, but you'll find a way.
Yeah. I'm like my mum and my wife.
Oh,
I'll always find a way.
Oh, rolled in together. God.
Exactly, yeah. Adrian, I gave him a 7.5. I feel he should have saved the goal, so I deducted points. He should have saved that. That was. I felt that he saved us with the Vardy opportunity.
What about the altercation with Vardy?
Header. I love that. I think is there some previous history there?
Yes, he injured Adrian by doing exactly that, by just leaving one in. That's why I was saying, to me, it's got to be. I mean, he does this every single time. He's doing it deliberately. So why is it that every time he does it, he's not booked? Because he should be, because he's deliberately leaving something in on him. People are saying, no, he's just trying to frighten the goalkeeper. No, he's not. He's deliberately leaving something in to try and hurt them, because he wants them to be pulling out the next time. It's not, it might have been all right in the 1970s, but it's against the laws of the game now. Should be getting pulled up for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really on the Vardy Appreciation Society.
No,
to be honest with you,
he's a very good player, but he's a nasty piece of work, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I just don't like his face. I'm not going to lie.
I don't like him at all. He's a horrible, horrible man. Yeah. That's as far as I'm going to say.
Really?
I don't like him. No.
All right.
As a person.
Yeah. He does look like Steptoe, that guy. Steptoe and Son, so badly.
Yeah. Shifts but and he's a good. He's a good goal scorer and that, but he's a nasty piece of work. Anyway,
I can't take him seriously because I kid him to Steptoe's Son. Right, so
don't start trying to sing the theme tune, please. We've had enough. We've had your singing once already. Please don't. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought other than that, I thought Adrian he did okay, and I doubt we'll see him in goal again in the Premiership again this season if Becker stays fit. And I just want to say a big hearty thank you for
well said.
Adrian's commitment
Not
and
that he'll hear it,
contribution.
Or anybody else for that matter, because they're all long gone once you started singing.
Berg might be Adrian, you never know. But yeah, in all seriousness, I just want to say a big thank you to Adrian, because 8 out of 8, mate, and I hope he's contributed to that, and I hope he gets a Premiership medal.
Did you not think as well that you got to say that he was brave to go with Vardy running down on him? He was brave because he took the chance. He knew Vardy's hit him once before, and he knew Vardy was going to leave something in on him, but he took the chance anyway. So, I'm really impressed with him. He's been even better than I thought he was.
Yes, he has, and I had low expectations, to be honest with you, and I was completely wrong. And I really do hope he wins a cup for us with him in goal. I think he deserves to be in the FA Cup.
That'd be nice.
And the Carabao Cup. I really do believe it. I don't think he'll. Something tells me he won't be here next season. I think he'll get a move from this. From the season he's had with us. But I hope it all ends positively, and hats off to him, mate.
I think he might just want to stay, to be honest. I think he's got his moment of glory, and he's loving it.
Really? Okay. I don't
It's
mind.
just everything you see of him, he's loving it, mate. He's absolutely loving this chance to play for Liverpool.
And during that melee as well, he was like... players that was like, he was kind of advocating for it. He was backing the lads up and everything. The Perez and and he was embroiled in a good way, kind of thing. And he had our back, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's definitely.
And the save from Sionchu, that was class, although it might have been off. So yeah. So good game, mate. Yeah. So good luck to him, man. I really do hope, as I say, win something for us this season. Trent, I thought it was a much better performance and more like the Trent we know and love. I thought he was a force defensively and offensively. I can't believe he just turned 21 this weekend. That's crazy.
Isn't his birthday today as we're filming? Well, yesterday for me, but now. But was it the 7th?
I don't know, but I thought it was this weekend. I didn't know it was today. It might have been today, but he's 21. That just baffles me. He's a European Cup winner at 20, and he's such a force. The guy's...
Yeah, look at this Matty Longstaff. He's 19.
Oh,
Erling Haaland, 19. And we're talking about how these great young starlets breaking through. Trent's been regular, and he's 21.
And you're right, it's exactly what he is. He's a great young starlet with experience. I mean, what's he worth?
Well, when you consider the right backs around, I mean, there's only really one Bissaka who's any good, isn't there, other than him? I mean, can you name another good one? People are going to say Ricardo, I bet. But I'm not convinced by him at all.
Leicester,
Yeah, I'm not convinced by him at all. He can't defend.
I'm not convinced,
He can't defend at all. He's hopeless, absolutely bloody hopeless defensively. He's not bad going forward, but he's not he's no Danny Alves where you can make up for it. Makes up for everything because he's so good going forward.
Yeah, how close were we to getting Pereira? Was there much in that?
I don't know. I don't know how close we were to it. I mean, how do you measure that?
You get a tape measure out, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't like we'd given him a medical or anything. But then that still isn't like a close for us anymore, is it?
Exactly.
I mean, how do you tell?
Let's not mention Fakir.
Yeah,
again.
well, it's just the medical. Yeah. When people say you failed a medical, they obviously don't understand what happens in a medical, because you can't fail a medical. It might throw up a few problems, but you can't actually fail a medical. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed Andy Carroll or Stuart Downing, for God's sake. Both of them were injured.
Let's not go there, please.
Yeah, true. Yeah, probably best. But it's a good reminder of how far we've come.
Oh, it's night and day, mate, night and day. But yeah, I thought Trent was. I thought he put in a great performance on Saturday. Um, Lovren, I gave him an 8.5 because he gave all the haters and the doubters the middle finger for me, and had pretty much had Vardy in his pocket.
He
Um,
had a good game, didn't he?
Stellar performance from someone who hasn't played regularly. Good for him, man. Good for him because he's a very nice guy as well. You know, and I like it. I like it when he does well because he does so much for. I remember when I went to Croatia, so many people were telling me of his charitable acts that are not meant to be common knowledge, and they are for some reason because people can't stop talking about him. About what he does for charity, and
Because wasn't that
really,
the problem with him as well? Is he wouldn't say one of the problems he's had is that he wouldn't pay up the for the corruption. You know, he wouldn't pay bribes or anything to the government there.
Something like that, yeah. I don't
that
know
guy
exactly
you had
the
to
ins and
pay
outs of it, yeah.
because you had to pay the head of their FA or something a cut of any of your wages and all that if you left to be allowed to leave the country and that. And he's one that hasn't and refused to, and that's why there's all this stuff about coming out now because he's one that he fought against it basically. Whereas Luka Modric, for instance, just paid up like whatever it takes to get out, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, mate. I don't know much about that, but I can see. All I know is that when I went to Croatia, I was talking to an a guy that played for what's the club that Lovren used to play for in Croatia? Belgrade or?
I think he played for one of the Belgrade ones, but I'm not sure which one. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
And he was eulogising about Lovren, and he was saying that some of the stuff he does and he has done, and he said he's such a nice guy, and he's a real humanitarian, you know, and he's a funny fucker as well. I love his Instagram stuff with Salah, cracks me up, man.
It's a love dig, that is.
But, yeah, exactly. But come on, man, he hasn't to come back and put in a performance in like that against a pretty potent attack.
He was decent in the cup as well. Fair play. You know, he carried Gomez.
Exactly. Fair play to him.
So
Listen, if it's a VVD and Lovren, the problem with Lovren is he gets lackadaisical and he loses focus. If it's one game and he has to focus on it, he's excellent. But a run of games, he just loses that, that kind of focus. That's what he's got to sharpen up on.
Yeah,
because he's a very, very good defender.
Oh yeah,
he's a very good defender.
Good on the ball as well, better than you think. Better than you realise.
Exactly,
until you see him do something, you think, God, that's a good pass.
So what's happened then? Is that now Gomez at the bottom of the pile for the centre back after this Lovren performance?
Yeah, I don't think it really depends on how they perform in the next game. It's that simple. If Lovren has a stinker, then Gomez will go back ahead of him. You know what I mean? It's hard to say because the international break cocks it all up, and it's basically like a reset, isn't it?
So now does Matic get back for the United game? I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Has Matic not playing? Is he not playing for Cameroon? Is he?
He quit international football ages ago. Remember when he joined us? And he went back for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They tried to get him back, or he went back for a bit. I forget what, and he walked out again because it's not very. There's some real problems in there with the FA and
in the Cameroonian,
in the
FA, yeah. Well, fair play, mate. They just help benefits us. So, yeah. Next on is Virgil. He played for me. I gave him an 8. He played better than he did against Salzburg, but then again, that's not saying much. But he was back to his usual Premiership self. I thought he wasn't world class, but didn't he? God, that crossfield pass. Did you see that one? Who did he play that to? Was it to Robert?
Trent, wasn't it?
Was it to Trent? Oh my God, it was delicious. Yeah, so it was a complete performance. I mean, I'm just saying that it was generally a complete team performance without the big score.
It was
It
so
was pretty
one-sided.
much. It was total domination, really. The way if you reflect upon it.
Yeah, all we needed to do was score the goals. That was the only thing missing.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a frigging hiding soon. I'm telling you, somebody's going to get. It's going to be a 5 or a 6 soon.
Probably, hopefully.
Yeah. Anyway, Robbo, I thought he was near to man of the match. It was a literal blood and guts performance, and I really appreciated his performance. He left everything on that pitch. Shame he didn't leave anything on Perez, but hey. I I really couldn't have been so wrong about a player than
He's
Robbo.
come
I
on in leaps
didn't.
and bounds. To be fair to the lad, he's got, transformed beyond all recognition from the player we bought from Hull. Much better player now.
I mean, we really have got the best centre. I mean, we really have got the best defence in the Premiership, I think.
It's hard to argue with it. With Allison in the goal,
Yeah.
even with Adrian, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then, listen, when he came from Hull and he didn't play the first few games, and then when he came, he was a bit lost. I think it was fair to assume that we'd got a lemon, right?
Well, the first half of the season, he never played, remember, because Moreno played.
Moreno, no, but it wasn't. He played in bits and pieces, but he wasn't.
He played. He played in the cup, didn't he? I think he played one game.
Yeah.
Then he didn't he pick up a knock in the first game, and Moreno came in and then never gave up the place apart from he brought him in for cup games.
But then Moreno got injured, didn't he?
Yeah, and then Moreno picked up a knock, and that was it. Robbo never let him back in. I think.
And he had to leave in the end.
Yeah, well, he was never going to stay. I mean, he didn't even want it. To be honest, the lad never wanted to be in England in the first place. He didn't want to leave Seville. It was one of those things where he was forced out against his will. He was very happy where he was, and he just wanted to play for his hometown club. He was absolutely broken-hearted to come to Liverpool. So you can't expect Moreno to come and be a revelation, really.
No, but he had a load of mates here. He had everything in place to.
But he's a nice lad, that's why. So he fits in, but it's not home, is it? For some people, that's what they need.
Oh, his heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, where your home is. Your home might not be where you're born and brought up. For some people, it's where you end up. But for him, home is where he was brought up. And
like Totti at Rome, Aspas at wherever he is.
Celta Vigo.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Celta Vigo, yeah, because he was a different player when he became a different player when he left us.
Yeah, because he was back home where he was happy.
Yeah. Exactly,
well, he was in Spain. I mean, because he didn't initially go back to Celta Vigo, did he? If I remember rightly.
Where did he go back to? Where did he go to when we sold him?
I can't remember.
Was it Villarreal?
It was something like that. Yeah. I know he went back to Spain.
Okay.
Now he's gone back, and then he went back to Celta Vigo. That's what, if I remember rightly. Anyway. I might be thinking of somebody else, but sure, nobody will be listening anyway, so it doesn't matter if I've got it wrong.
Robbo's getting into some positions now, isn't he? God blimey.
Well, he's doing more than just hitting. He's doing more than just playing and then stopping around the edge of the box like he used to. He's got his confidence up now.
Gotcha.
What's that? 2 goals now. Goal scorer now.
Yeah. Right.
He's got the eye in, he's got his eye in.
Yeah. He's got the eye of the tiger now, yeah. He's just got I think he should have scored on Saturday.
That was one hell of a shot, that, wasn't it?
Yeah. No. I thought he could have I think he should have scored. He made it difficult for himself, to be honest. He should have taken it earlier.
Maybe
Yeah, because I'm talking from all those millions of goals I scored in the Premiership.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, because you're the expert, so I'll take your word for it, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fabinho. I'm pretty sure his tackle percentages and pass completion was pretty high. on Saturday. He offered offensively as well, which is really pleasing. He just keeps ticking over, just ticking along.
He's one of those you don't really notice him most of the time, and then he suddenly pops up with the ball from nowhere, and you're like, hang on, how'd he get that? He's nowhere near it a second ago, and and that's the only reason you notice him play most of the time, because he plays the ball. It's so calm and unhurried, everything he does. It's beautiful to watch.
It's like he's just so lazy. He feels to be so lazy, and he's not. He's always doing something.
He's got good footballing brain. I don't know if he's an intelligent man. I can't say that, but on the pitch, he's intelligent.
Yeah, he's got poise as well. He's got a lot of poise.
I like him a lot.
Do you want me to tell you what poise means?
No, it's all right. I know what poise means. It's something to do with porpoises, yeah?
Yeah. What was I going to say to you? Yeah, so moving on to Genie. I gave him an 8, and I know a lot of people didn't think he played that well, but I in my opinion, he kept the play ticking over. I think he's a real unsung hero. And,
he runs himself into the ground every game, and people just don't notice it. It's that, like I was saying, the 87 minutes. What he does is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, and have you noticed recently what he started doing? He's like the way he shields the ball and turns his way, out of trouble and creates a transition. He's deceptively strong. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, but he's a strong little bugger.
Yeah, he's a bit of an ox, isn't he? Bit of a brute, like, for a little guy.
Yeah, and he shields that ball so well. Love the play. I love the guy, man. I mean, again,
good
another
feet
player.
as well.
I remember. Yeah. And I like the fact that he can play both 2 positions as well. That's really, really positive, beneficial to us, because he played the offensive role at Newcastle, right?
But
then
he can play the holding role, the central, the normal central midfield role, or he can play in one of the front 3 if need be. Though he's not that good in the offensive one.
He's not. I was going to say, he's not the greatest.
He just doesn't feel.
But
it's not because he can't play it, because I've seen him play like in that kind of position before when he was in Dutch football, and that was where he looked like the player. Looked like a superstar in the making as a kid. I remember when he was first coming through, I actually got when you play Football Manager back then. I can't remember which one it was. But because, I'd seen him play and I thought, God, this lad's going to be a player. So I went and went and looked him up on Football Manager to have a look and see what he was like on there, see whether he was worth, a cheap, whether he could pick him up cheap and he turns into a player. And he wasn't that good on the game, but I was really disappointed because I thought he was going to be incredible. But yeah.
Can I just say one thing at this juncture? I have no idea what Football Manager, how to play it. I've never played it in my life. I don't even know what people talk about. I just say, when people talk about Football Manager in conversations, I just go, yeah. And like,
the early
I know
game,
what they're talking about.
If you'd played the early game.
I had no idea.
Oh, it was fantastic.
I don't even
Did
know
you
what
know
about.
it was cited at one time? It was cited in as more causes for divorce than any other, and any other cause put together.
What, all extramarital affairs and everything?
Yeah, all of them put together. It was the husband playing too much champ manager when it was champ manager. That was the cause. That was the biggest cause.
What is it?
It's
what
a
is
football
it?
management
It's just a game that you play.
It's a football management game. I mean, I don't.
But what? I don't. What do you do?
You manage a team, yeah. It's like, what do you mean? It's hard to explain because, like, in the early days, when it was addictive, it was just basically a spreadsheet. I mean, it was just numbers. And then when the games were playing, it was just commentary. It wasn't really... I mean, I don't know why it's addictive. I really don't. But it worked in the early days. It's not the same now.
I must have been out having sex or
no, you definitely weren't.
Having a good time or something.
No, you definitely weren't. You were obviously backpacking somewhere that had no computers.
Yeah. Yeah, I must have been, yeah. All right, Milner. I gave him a 9. I
Oh.
thought he was bang on it on Saturday. I was a joy to watch. Again, that's pass for the opener was just sex. I thought it was in between him and Mane for man of the match, and I loved the fact that he had Robbo's back in that melee at the end, the player melee at the end when they all got aggro.
Yeah,
It was, and I think it's benefiting him to have having these rests and coming into the team. I really do.
and he's providing the experience we need as well for the kids.
He is, yes, you're right, and that's really it's a real positive, and obviously they need that as well because they need to be carried somewhat with him, Hendo, etc. By him, sorry.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. Don't worry.
On to Salah. I gave him an 8.5. Again, contrary to popular opinion, I thought Mo had an effective game. Yeah, he did score. Well, he nearly scored. Schmeichel made a good save, to be honest. But he was a constant outlet and a threat, to especially Sionchu.
Yeah, and I mean, if Sionchu had kept his hands to himself, had not pulled him back every time he got on the ball, I think he would have scored. Or at least got a couple of assists.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've talked about Salah at length, so we might as well go on to Bobby.
Yeah.
I gave him an 8 because I still thought he was threatening. I don't feel he really enjoys being played on the left. He's not as effective, in my opinion.
No, it doesn't suit him. But once he was in the middle, he created the space. Like I said, he's the one that moved back, pulls the centre back out of position, and that's the reason why Evans then can't cut out the ball. It's the space that Mane runs into.
Absolutely, and he was a menace throughout, to be honest, even when he was on the left, and he had a couple of opportunities to score as well.
Yeah, shame he didn't, because it was his birthday that day.
I think it was him and Allison. Birthdays? I don't get. How do you know everybody's birthdays? I don't get it.
Ah, see, magic. It's the internet. They celebrate their birthday. They put it up on all sorts of things, and then people send me stuff like, "Oh, it's so and so's bit." Oh, right, okay. It's not like I have them all marked down on my calendars already.
You're that sad. I wouldn't put it past you.
I don't even have my birthday marked down on the calendar, let alone anybody else's. This is the problem I've had. People keep saying, keep saying it's their birthday. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't got you a present. I didn't know. Stop marked on my calendar.
99.9% of the planet don't have their birthday marked on the calendar.
No, I mean anybody's birthday. Oh, no, I don't.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't remember I don't even remember my own name most of the time, let alone my birthday.
Your name's Burke.
Well, I just answer to Ed 1 these days.
Yeah.
You forget your own name at times.
Yeah.
When someone writes Triss on this site, you know what I mean, rather than Ed 1, I'm like, I'm wondering why's one of the editors held this for me? This isn't for me.
Oh, that's funny. The only birthday I remember is Kenny Dalglish's. Is March the 4th. Can you believe that? About all birthdays in all the world, I remember Kenny Dalglish's.
Well, of course you should, because that was the one that mattered.
It is one that mattered, yeah.
I mean, you must remember the old jokes. What do you do if you come home and find Kenny Dalglish in bed with your wife? Tuck him in and make sure he doesn't get a cold.
And make him a cup of tea.
Breakfast in bed, everything, yeah.
Okay, mate, honestly, I'd lock him in. I'd lock him in the bedroom and lock the window so he can't escape, and the door.
Until I've got his autograph. He's not going anywhere. I don't care how many times you bang her, I just want my autograph.
Fuck that. I'm not letting him go until
and
he
a
gives my wife a
selfie.
baby.
Yeah.
Until he
Yeah.
makes my wife pregnant, I'm not
Yeah.
going to let him go anywhere.
It's a good job he's not Pele then, because you'd be waiting a bloody long time if he was.
Yeah. All right, mate. Moving on to Sadio. As I said, him and Millie for me were close to either man of the match. It was clearly it was a peach of a goal, but what impressed me was his defensive work. It was
Challenge
clean,
on Chilwell,
crisp,
and he did it straight
decided.
afterwards as well, didn't he? Did another one.
Absolutely, mate. Again, Chilwell, absolutely. I think Sionchu and Chilwell come out of that game thinking, "What the fuck," because they didn't get a chance to shine.
They were
on them,
destroyed. I'm starting to feel sorry for Chilwell by the end of it because he looked absolutely shell-shocked.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one that he was. I hope he doesn't believe in his own hype. You know what I mean? Because he got taken to school that game. Honestly, he did. But then, it was us. We're a damn strong team.
Yeah, well, that's why we're top of the league.
Exactly, 8 out of 8, eh? And people still moan.
Yeah, especially you.
Again, Brendan Rodgers. We look like we could go on and win the game.
Sake.
We probably deserve the point. I can't get.
You're ruining it for me.
Did you see Mane's reaction to when Millie scored the penalty? It meant he was on his knees, like praying and celebrating, like while the other players were celebrating somewhere else. He was just ecstatic. It means so much to him. I know he's just signed a contract, but
you'd give him another one, would you? And a contract.
He can impregnate my wife as well.
You'd let him impregnate you, let alone your wife.
I'm carrying Mane's baby. Can you imagine that? You think I don't know. Something gives me a feeling that Barcelona will be after him come the summer.
You mean because they didn't get Neymar?
In there. Yeah, I think he would be ideal. Well, he'd be ideal for most people, but I think he'd be super fitting well at Barcelona. I think they'll go for him. I don't think. Sorry?
Yeah, I'm not convinced. He's really a Barcelona type player.
I just think that I'm not saying he's using us as
I don't. I can see why they'd want him. Real Madrid want him as well.
But where would he play at Madrid? I mean, I know he plays. He can play on the right, but he's more effective on the left, isn't he?
Well, they don't want Bale, remember, for starters. So he can play wherever Bale was going to play. And let's face it, have you not seen the rest of their team? They're crap. You'd put him where he plays best, where he wants to play, and then you fit the rest around him. Anyway, he's that good at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go to Madrid, mate. It just Hazard is blocking his path there. I don't think they can put. I don't think they'll go. I think Madrid. I think Barcelona will be
I'm
after
not convinced Hazard will last that long there. The way unless he has a stellar season, the fans just aren't taking to him at the moment, which I find odd.
Right, let's talk about that in the next podcast. Yeah. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write. That is a very interesting suggestion you made.
Anyway, we should we wrap this one up because then we can start on the other.
Yeah, let's do that. I think we're all done.
Yeah, because I think we've pretty much finished.
And I think we just want to talk about quickly the substitutes, Lallana and Origi and Hendo, trying to make an impression.
Yeah, they all.
Apart from Lallana get roughed up by those the Leicester players, that was about it. And
that certainly made an impression.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate his desire though.
Yeah.
For taking one for the team. Do you know what I mean? All right, bud.
All right then. So, see you next Tuesday on this one then.
See you next Tuesday, and goodbye, Berg. And sorry to keep you up so late.
Yeah, the singing, that's going to keep him up for weeks. The pain.
Oh, I thought that was going to be... Oh, I thought you meant in an arousal
No,
sense,
definitely
but
not in an
okay.
arousal sense. Trust me. Definitely not.
All right, mate. See you next Tuesday.
Well, bye-bye.